Good day, everyone. I hope you all had a super Saturday. My Saturday was alright, for the most part. So I was off today, and let's see. I had a birthday party to go to for my friend's son. He's 4 years old. He turned 4 years old back in December, at the end of December, but they're just now having a party for him. So we went down to that. It was at a little park in Winter Park. It's a good time. He got a little Velcro tennis ball and Velcro pads, so he could catch a ball. And so we were throwing the ball with him, and he was doing that. He really liked that. I thought, yeah. And then came home. Josh and Heather had to go do their job of cleaning the church. But I headed down to a friend's for a movie night that he was putting together, that he was having. So I went down there, and traffic was a little so I got there later than I meant to, hoping to. So I missed the very beginning of the movie. I thought I was going to miss more than that, but they didn't start it right at 7 like they said. And the movie was Jurassic World, which I'd already seen before, but only once. I actually voted for Avengers 2 Age of Ultron, which I've already seen twice, but I like it, so... But basically, we watched that, and then after that, we decided to play some Mafia. So I'm going to go ahead and go over these. I'm trying to remember, we played 3 games, but one of them was really short. So I'm going to go over those games. In these games, the first game, who was I? I was a tracker in the first game. First time I've been a tracker. I was excited about that. And so I did a pretty good job of tracking. New water bottle, by the way. Did a pretty good job of tracking, I think. The first person I tracked didn't visit anyone, so they were innocent townsperson. The second person I visited, and I let on as much. People were starting to go after him, and I was like, no, it's not him. Believe me, it's not him, without actually coming out and saying I was a tracker. And the game ended a little... it was a nail biter is what it was. So the second night I investigated someone I was suspicious of. I was in fact told that this person visited 2 people. One person was seduced, it turned out, and the other person was killed. So I knew she was Mafia. But the silencer silenced me, so I couldn't say anything. And then the next night, I investigated someone else who I was kind of iffy about, and it turned out this person was innocent. And I was killed that night, so it didn't matter. I was able to quickly get out a message to the first person I investigated, who I knew was innocent, that they need to watch out for this person, the person that I investigated the second night. That was all I was able to get out real quick, which is a quick point. I didn't say anything, didn't want to give away, and sure enough, I was killed. So, and what proceeded was a very crazy game. At the beginning of the game, this person, the same person that I cleared the first night, he heard a new player ask a question about the gunsmith, and so he was convinced that this person was the gunsmith the whole game. And I heard him say it; it made sense, so I kind of believed him too. And so after I was killed, when I found out this person was in fact not the gunsmith, but the silencer, I was shocked, to say the least. But as a dead person, I couldn't say anything about it. And so it ultimately came down to 3 people. The person who was Mafia, the silencer, but who the person I checked out the first night thought was the gunsmith, convinced he was the gunsmith. The person who I cleared the first night, and the person who wound up coming out as the nurse. And something happened, I forget what it was exactly, but they both were so convinced that this person was the gunsmith, when in fact he was the silencer, that they went after each other. And except that they couldn't, because the silencer silenced himself, which means he can't second a vote. And with 3 people left, you need a first and a second, and that's your vote, 1, 2. And so that meant that they couldn't lynch each other, even though they thought it was each other, even though all the evidence pointed to this person who came out as the nurse as being the nurse, and the person that I cleared the first night as being cleared. The nurse believed me when I said that, so it was a little wonky. But the rules were that the silence person cannot second a vote. They can only vote, but they can't second a vote. Because they're silenced, that makes them making a gesture of indicating they were seconding it or whatever. So that was the ruling that we established earlier on when I was silenced, because I wanted to second something. And the person I cleared, realized I was trying to figure that out and asked it for me, luckily. So it was established, so it's like you can't back down on that rule now. So their only options were to first and second, even though they thought it was each other when they really shouldn't have. First and second, the actual mafia, and lynch him or go to sleep. And that means the mafia is going to strike one of them. One of them is the nurse. So it comes down to who does the nurse save. Who does the mafia strike and who does the nurse save? Mafia struck not the nurse, but the other person. And the nurse, convinced that the mafia was actually the gunsmith, didn't save herself. She saved the gunsmith. And the mafia, not the gunsmith. She saved the gunsmith from death when the gunsmith was in no danger because he was mafia. Because he wasn't the gunsmith. I said that wrong. The silencer was no danger. So she didn't save the person she needed to, or herself, which would have been the smarter play. She saved the other person, because and Mafia won. It was one of those games. Game number 2 is a very fast train wreck, basically. I'm the nurse. Someone else is a nurse, too. We have 2 nurses. Based on the numbers, we probably only have 2 Mafia. A good separation with 8 players would be to have 2 Mafia, one of them a Yakuza, so you can strike. So that kind of makes it almost a 3, because 8 is almost 9, but not fully. And so it has that ability. He puts 2 Yakuzas as the only Mafia in the game. And both Yakuzas strike this, and so Mafia takes someone out, we lynch someone, we're down to 6 people. The next night, Mafia kills someone, and no, we actually didn't lynch anyone. We weren't sure, so we decided to go to bed without lynching. So we still have 7 people. Mafia kills someone, down to 6. Mafia, both Yakuzas strike. One of them strikes on me and turns me Mafia from my role as a nurse. And I'm saying no because there's another nurse who knows that I'm Mafia now because I didn't wake up with the nurses. And so and so they kill themselves, so we're down 7, 6, 5. 2 Mafia. 3 town. No, I was wrong. We did lynch someone, so. Alright, so Mafia killed, we lynched someone, went to bed at 6, Mafia struck, down to 5, and 2 strikes, 4, 3, I'm not sure what happened. At any rate, we were down to 4 people, 2 Mafia, the 2 Mafia that were turned, basically, which was actually the governor was turned, and I was turned. And so the other person, the nurse that came out as a nurse, I didn't come out as a nurse, but the other nurse came out because he was accused. And they didn't strike him. And it would have been pretty epic if they'd struck both nurses, because then we could have kept playing right along. It didn't matter, though, because of the number breakdown. When the Yakuza struck, we were at 2-2, even tie. The nurse was still in the game. But the question is, who's going to believe who? We have 2 Mafia, and one of them's a former nurse. And so what do? I realize I should strike first. So I say that I am the nurse, and he was turned. He didn't wake up with us. I was the second nurse. Which I was hoping he would indicate, since he came out as the nurse, that there was, in fact, a second nurse, so that I could use that later on. He didn't actually indicate that, but I said that I was the second nurse. There were 2 nurses. We were saving 2 people every night, and he didn't wake up, when in fact I didn't wake up. And so that was just the trick of convincing the one remaining townsperson, besides the nurse, that I was turned, he wasn't, and who would believe who. We realized that there was no way for the town to win, though. Even with the nurse still in the game. It would have extended the game slightly, but there was really no way. And so, whoosh, game over. Mafia wins with me on the Mafia side at the end of the game. Next game, I'm nurse again. And there are two nurses again. Only this time the other nurse is the single nurse from the first game. And so the two of us are nurses. And I'm trying to remember how this game played out. It was longer. But it doesn't stand out as much in my brain right now. Let's see. We were both nurses. The same thing happened again, actually. So there was the same breakdown. 8 people, 2 Mafia, both were Yakuzas. No, they weren't. We thought there were 2 Yakuzas. Something funky happened, and we wound up with one person claiming to be a cop, and then someone else saying they're not a cop, they're a cop. And so now it's like, who do we believe, this person or this person? I thought I heard some movement off in this direction, so I sided with this person over here. Turned out that was the right thing to do, but we thought a Yakuza struck when this person was killed. But this person was killed because he opened his eyes at the wrong time. He was a cop, but he opened his eyes with the Mafia, saw who they were, and had to be killed, insta-killed, because he opened his eyes. Taking him out of the game and making us think that this person, that he was a Yakuza, the other Yakuza struck. Since there were 2 deaths, we thought that meant, or there were 3 deaths, we thought that meant that both of them were Yakuzas. And in fact, he was killed by the moderator for opening his eyes at the wrong time. So that led me to believe he was Mafia, so the other guy was telling the truth, and we lynched him. And so, whoops, we screwed up, which made me think that the sound I heard wasn't this person, but it was the other person. Turned out they were both Mafia, but I did hear something. And so he went after the other person, lynched him, and the seducer struck, the Yakuza struck at the same night, on that night, and someone else didn't wake up. My other nurse didn't wake up. And so I was like, oh no, was she Yakuza'd or was she seduced? And I went into super over-the-top analyzing mode and came up with the conclusion that I'd heard the person who was our cop, who I thought was Mafia now at this point. I heard him realize that there were 2 nurses, or that me and the other nurse were together. He didn't know we were nurses, but he knew we were together. And so if he was Mafia, he knew we were together. He would try to separate us. And so I thought he was the seducer, or he got the seducer to seduce her instead of turning her to make me suspicious so that I would go after her and lynch her, when in reality she wasn't turned out. So we went after the other guy that we heard, just to be safe, on the safe side. And turned out the next night she didn't wake up. The person we took out somewhere along the way, we found out the seducer was one of the ones that were taken out. There was a seducer, which made us realize there was a seducer and 1 Yakuza, so there weren't 2 people, turned just the one. But the one was, in fact, after not waking up the second night, and the seducer being out of the game, the one was, in fact, the other nurse. And it wasn't a seducing, it was a strike. And so we went after her, took her out, game ended, town won. So I was 2 for 3 on that night. Then I came home. It was a pretty good night. So I'm going to go ahead and end the vlog here. And good night, everyone. And I'll see you next time. Bye.